Hey, so I'm James Cross. I work on Workday's corporate strategy team. I'm based out of our headquarters in Pleasanton, California, and excited to be here in Salt Lake City today. We actually have a fairly big office location here, so I'm looking forward to catching up with some colleagues in real life too while I'm in town. So today I wanted to talk about just some of the changes we're seeing happening in the world as we work with our customers, and also some of the ways that we're really building for this envisioned future and how we build out our products. First of all, can I check how many of you are generally aware of Workday as a company that's doing things in the space? Okay, great. I'd imagine that most of you are aware of Workday as a company that's like kind of in the HR software space generally. But I wanted to use today to take the opportunity to share a bit more of our vision and show a few parts of our product that I'm particularly really proud of, and just to talk about some of the things that we're hearing from our customers as the world changes. They make me show this slide. Workday is a publicly traded company. I'll make some future-looking statements today, and any numbers I mention will generally be from last quarter's kind of public release numbers as well. So just by way of an introduction, I wanted to start off by talking about my own journey to really getting on the stage here today. I grew up in Liverpool, a city in the north of the UK that you probably know from the Beatles and football. And Liverpool was actually formerly a really big industrial town that was a really big shipbuilding town. And there's really high unemployment there today as kind of shipbuilding's moved on from the UK. And then I trained to be a teacher. I was a high school music teacher for 4 years. And I actually did my teacher training in another town in the north of the UK called Barnsley, which is another former industrial town. It was a big mining town previously. And the area I taught in actually has around twice the unemployment rate of the rest of the UK. And many of the kids I was teaching were almost kind of second generation unemployed, where their grandparents had been laid off from the mines, then their parents had never really had full employment, and these kids were likely to follow along that same path as well. And so many of the issues that are being discussed here this week and in the press and that are being debated generally right now resonate quite strongly with me from my own personal experience. So then I went from being a teacher to joining a startup in an early stage, which was called MediaCore. We were a cloud video platform that was, we grew over a period of about 3 or 4 years, and we ended up being used by many of the US's largest universities to power their video learning experiences. So that was a fun journey, and I got to work with lots of really cool universities like Stanford and Columbia, for instance, and Yale, as they built out their next generation kind of learning capabilities in the cloud. And then just after we'd raised our Series A round, Workday came along and made an acquisition offer, which we decided to accept. And really, it's been an interesting journey from being a 35-person startup to a 6,500-person company for lots of reasons. But Workday, for me, has everything I loved about a startup. I get to work with insanely smart people every day. We get to use the latest technologies. We're moving at a really fast pace as we grow, and we're launching new products every year. But at the same time, we get to build software that touches a lot of people. So this is one of our marketing slides. I won't go through it in detail, but Workday's got over 1,500 customers. These are all enterprise-wide deployments, and we've currently got approaching around 20 million employees in our system. So what really excites me as a product guy is everything we build has a huge impact as it touches so many people. And at a growth rate of like 30–40% per year, that impact just keeps growing right now, which is really exciting. And Workday gets to work with some of the world's largest and most innovative companies, and I'm really fortunate to have frequent contact with executives from these companies. And I get a chance to listen to the challenges they're seeing today, how they want to grow for the future, and how they see their people strategy and software strategy as helping them to do that. And the tagline in the middle, the power of one, is something we talk a lot about at Workday. This means that all of our customers are on the same version, the same single line of code, and we're a true multi-tenant application. Now, to those of you in the audience who are working for startups, this probably seems really obvious. It's like, of course, everybody's on the same version. But sadly, this isn't always the case when it comes to large enterprise software. Many customers that come to Workday come to us from on-premise applications that maybe haven't been updated in 10 years or so, and are really chaining them to the past and holding them back from innovating. And that's the reason that they want to come to a cloud application like Workday. So this morning I wanted to talk about a few things. I wanted to just cover the changing landscape and what that means for skills and opportunity and learning as we move forward. And then I wanted to just talk about how Workday is building some specific products and features to help our customers adapt to this landscape. So it's going to be no surprise to everybody in this room, and I'm probably preaching to the choir on a lot of these points, but the world is changing really quickly right now, and that's especially the case for the world of work. And one of my favorite things to do is to look at the kind of consumer landscape and look at the changes we're seeing there, and then try and look at how we can harness some of those trends and bring them into the enterprise to make work more engaging for everybody. So it used to be that in the past, you could learn a very specific set of skills, for instance, truck driving, and then you could pretty much rely on that set of skills for the rest of your career. So you could learn how to do one thing and then rely on that set of skills to take you through the rest of your career. But as we all know, those days are kind of coming to an end right now as things move so quickly. And it's now the case that if you've got a static skill set that hasn't been updated in a long time, that's very quickly going to become obsolete at this point. And so we're seeing lots of people right out there today, and this particularly resonates with me, coming from the places I came from in the UK, that have really been left behind by all of this change and are struggling to keep up and are struggling to provide for their families because they don't have the skill sets and they don't have the ability to learn, and they don't have that kind of learning mindset that's going to allow them to adapt to the future. So today we're moving from a point where you could rely on one set of skills to take you through your whole career to a point where you actually need to be constantly relearning and really in love with learning throughout your whole career as the world changes around you. And this is a big, big shift for many people, and one that we all need to be thinking about how we can help people through. It also used to be that you could pretty much just join a firm, and then you could work your way up through a very structured career ladder of your time there, and you essentially had a job for life. So this was certainly the case for my grandparents and to an extent my parents, but it's really not the case today for anybody who's sat in this room. You now need to have a very different mindset as you approach your career and your growth throughout it. And really, as the landscape shifts so quickly, there really is no one-size-fits-all career plan. We're all kind of navigating without a map today as the landscape shifts so much around us. And we need to think about how technology and how the way we approach skills and support people can help them to adapt to this landscape and help them essentially navigate without a map and have success without a map. And we're also seeing lots of changes to the career as well. So one thing is that the career is becoming increasingly kind of modular, and that nowadays people aren't just looking for one straight-through career where they follow a career path. They're looking to have a very diverse set of career experiences. And we're seeing this happening in a few different ways. So many large organizations, for instance, are starting to look at the notion of kind of talent marketplaces, where you can actually apply for gigs inside your own company and kind of build a portfolio of skills as you go through those different gigs. And we're seeing some really large companies like Coca-Cola, for instance, exploring this today. And also we're seeing the rise of online communities that allow people to build portfolios and then to get work from those portfolios. So in the design world, Dribbble is a really good example of this. It's a design portfolio site where people can go and upload their UX designs and kind of comment on them and share them. But behind Dribbble is a really successful jobs board where people are able to actually post their jobs and get work kind of by leveraging their portfolio in that way. And we're seeing the same thing happening with sites like Stack Overflow as well, where you can post your code, and even things like GitHub, where people are building online professional portfolios, and then they're using those portfolios to help them get work and drive their careers forward as well. So we've gone from a world where you can join a company and have a job for life and follow a structured career plan to being in a world where actually you need to be actively seeking out a diverse range of career experiences. And I'll touch a little bit later on our current education system today, but I don't think this is education is just so structured today, and I don't think it's preparing people for a world where they need to be much more proactive about building a very diverse skill set. And it used to be the case that you could have career success if you were just really good at following instructions. And this is the way we teach our kids. We teach them to sit still, listen to the teacher, follow the instructions. And then and that used to be fine when we were essentially in an industrial world with an industrial schooling system and then in an industrial work world. But we're now in a post-industrial world, and this really doesn't make sense any longer. We really don't need people today that are good at following instructions and nothing else. We need something more than that. And as we talk about the risk of automation today, it's these the jobs where you just have to follow instructions, those jobs with clear sequential instructions are actually the most at risk of automation today. And then the most at risk of even outsourcing to different countries as well. And so we need to be developing people that have skills that go beyond this. This is one of my favorite quotes from a guy in the UK called Professor Stephen Heppel, which some of you may have come across. It's worth searching him on YouTube for some of his talks. And he says that learning prepares you to deal with surprises, whereas education prepares you to cope with certainty. So I think we need to be kind of building people who are in love with learning and who are able to learn and relearn new things as they go through their careers. So learning prepares you to deal with surprises. Education prepares you to cope with certainty, as we teach the test in schools. But really today, there is no certainty. And so we're teaching students to be able to cope with a world that doesn't exist anymore. So instead of being able to follow instructions, we now need people who are highly creative, collaborative, and adaptable. And we think a lot at Workday about the future of business and what this means for our customers and how we can build software to help them thrive in this landscape. And the future of business today is being driven by lots of different megatrends like technology, geopolitical shifts, the changes in urbanization and the workforce. And this is really the landscape that our customers are working in today. And every year, KPMG does a CEO survey, which is really interesting to look at. And actually, technological changes are the #1 thing that's on the mind of most large enterprise CEOs today, along with things like demographic shifts, and later on, things like rapid urbanization as we move towards urban centers rather than the suburbs. And what really interests me are the technology inflection points that we're really on the cusp of today. So there are lots of big nascent technologies that are really like to change the business landscape in the next few years. So things like blockchain, that's going to change how we transact and how we verify things. Augmented reality, which many think is going to be the next big consumer technology platform shift away from mobile, and it's really going to change the world in ways we can't imagine yet. And even autonomy and the shift from owning cars to autonomy as a service. This is going to change things again in ways we can't imagine yet. It's going to change how we commute, how we work, where we live and where we work, and even it's going to give us a lot more time to do things that we'd normally kind of prefer to be doing during our commutes to work. And there's lots of debate today happening around the drive towards automation too. And whenever you get these big technology platform shifts happening, you get massive disruption, of course, but it also brings massive opportunity for those with the right skills, for both people with the right skills and for organizations with people with the right skills that's able to mobilize those people in a way that helps drive the organization's kind of strategy forward. So it's a really exciting time to be alive right now. But at the same time, 77% of CEOs actually worry that there's a skill shortage and they don't have the skills to help their companies grow as these new technologies take hold in the next few years. And it's really worth checking out the full version of this KPMG report. I'll post a link to it after the session on Twitter. So as I start to get into how we think about this at Workday and how we build our software with all of this in mind, we think about helping our customers to lead in an environment of change. And there are a few ways that we look at doing this. I don't have time to get into all of these today, and I'm going to focus on engagement today. But we believe that we need to give our customers insights into the world and into their business, merging Workday and non-Workday data. And we're about to launch a new business insights tool called Workday Prism, which lets you kind of blend data from third-party sources like open data sets and like your CRM or customer survey tools and point-of-sale systems, along with your Workday people data and financial data to help you kind of deliver more insight into the business. We also help our customers to be more agile as well. So lots of our customers today, as the world changes, they're looking at M&A, they're looking at divestitures, they're looking at entering new markets, launching new business units, and we need to give them systems that are going to help them kind of adapt to that change and to be able to do that with agility. And also, we really look at engagement as well and how we can build systems that keep their people engaged. Because highly engaged employees are much more productive, they're much less likely to leave, and they're much more likely to look for their next opportunity at your organization rather than somewhere else. And we also think a lot about mobilizing talent. So we think about it both in terms of giving them the tools they need in the palm of their hands through the mobile devices, but this also means mobilizing talent in the way, I guess, making sure you've got the right people with the right skills doing the right work to drive your company forward at any time. And we really try to build out applications and tools that help our customers to do that. And from Workday's very start, we've always aimed to really put people at the center of enterprise software. Now, most enterprise software is built with the administrator in mind, essentially the people that you're selling the software to. But the way that we build software looks much more like the design thinking you'd see at somewhere like Facebook or Google or Apple than a traditional enterprise software company. So when we build an application, for instance, when we built our learning application, we actually go and sit down with employees and end users at their desks and talk to them about the learning experience and how we can build an application to help facilitate that. So this really runs throughout everything we do at Workday. And we're the kind of core business applications for most of our customers. So we're the core enterprise backbone where their people data, and if they've got Workday financials, where their financial data is as well. And we look at how we can build out from that and use the data we have to create experiences. So we look at how, first of all, we can create intelligence experiences. We've got a lot of data all in one single data model from 1,500 customers with 20 million people in there. And that allows us to use machine learning and artificial intelligence in some really interesting ways to build intelligent experiences. We were a really early investor in this area. We can do things like telling a manager who in their team is a flight risk and making specific suggestions to help retain those people. And I can talk to anybody in more detail later on about our investments in machine learning. And also, we look at really building engaging and differentiated experiences for people, which is what I wanted to focus on in the next few slides. So what we see today is that we're really in the age of highly differentiated experiences, and we see this both in the consumer world and also in the enterprise world as well. And what we see is that we're really now in the experience economy. We've gone from simply delivering services to actually creating and crafting experiences for people. And you see this in the consumer world every day. You see this when you walk into an Apple store. You see this when you go to a SoulCycle class or to a CrossFit class. You see it when you install a Nest thermometer. Lots of really kind of thoughtful attention has gone into every part of this experience, every touch point. And we're seeing this come through into the enterprise today as well. HR is no longer just all about hiring and firing and transactions and paychecks. It's actually now increasingly about creating an employee experience. And one really great example of this is Airbnb, one of our customers, who actually have reframed HR as the employee experience department. And experiences, it's not just about getting things right. You need to get things right on a transactional basis. It's about making people feel a certain way. So when you walk into an Apple store or walk into a SoulCycle class, you feel a certain way, and that's very intentional. And lots of thought has gone into those touch points to create that feeling. And we're seeing that come into the enterprise today as well. And so we think about how we can use all of the data we have inside of Workday to create really kind of engaging data-driven experiences. And lots of our customers, they're using data in really sophisticated ways to engage their customers and to drive their businesses forward through doing that. But they've never before been able to do that internally for their own people. Now, in Workday, we have a lot of data on their people. And so we launched a feature last year with our learning product called Campaigns. And this is a framework that runs across all of our applications now. And this lets you actually use Workday data to trigger immediate pieces of content to people based on things that happen to them in Workday. So if I'm promoted maybe to my first management role, I could receive a push notification on my iPhone 30 seconds later after that change happens in Workday to say, hey, James, you're now a manager. Congratulations on your new role, with a personalized message. And that could then link me straight to a video in our learning product, which kind of shows me how to have a great first week as a manager. And then you can actually drip feed these campaigns over time after that automatically is triggered the first time to help people be successful week after week. So I could get a video every week after that for the next 4 weeks, for instance. So we just think about how we can use all the data we have inside of Workday to drive highly personalized, differentiated experiences. And last year, we launched Workday Learning. I led on product strategy for that product before moving over to our kind of general corporate strategy team earlier this year. This is actually our most successful product launch ever. We've had really great response from our customers. And I think the response has been because we focused on the end user and we focused on building an enterprise learning product that people actually wanted to use every day. I could talk all day about this product in particular. If anybody would like to talk more about the learning product, I'd be happy to do so afterwards. And we also have made some investments in content creation as well. We acquired a company called Zaption just over 12 months ago now, which was an interactive video content creation tool. That's now a part of our platform. It's being used in our learning product, and it's coming to some other Workday products later on. And this lets you take video content and then craft interactive learning experiences on top of it in a way that's really engaging and interactive as the user works through it as well. So when we make acquisitions for specific pieces of technology, we're able to get them into our products in a very meaningful way very quickly as well. And this gives a really great experience on our native mobile apps too. The opportunity graph is one of my favorite features, and it's an example of what we can do with all of the data we have. This is really cool. This lets you actually explore potential paths you could take as your next step inside of a company. And this is actually based on real-time data that's pulled from your Workday, your company's kind of Workday instance. This shows you everybody who's been in your position before, and it looks at which position they've moved to next. And this kind of moves away from these kind of static, rigid career paths and move towards something that's much more personalized and real time, and it's really empowering. And it will actually even show employees which learning they might need to take and which skills they might need to develop to actually move towards that next step. They can log it as a career interest, so when they next have a conversation with their manager, that would come up on the kind of conversation dashboard. And it's also linked to our recruiting product as well. So if there's a position open for this potential next step, they can actually register their interest and apply for that position directly through Workday Recruiting. So the aim here is to, I guess, show people the vitality of the organization they're in, and essentially stop them looking elsewhere and say, hey, there are actually lots of opportunities at the company you're in today. And those opportunities might not be too obvious to you today. They may not even be obvious to your manager, but here are some of the sideways steps or like diagonal steps that other people have taken who've been in your position previously. And we also really continue to let our customers see engagement across the organization through our engagement insights as well. We did this in a few different ways. We launched a pulse survey tool last year that lets you essentially check for engagement and send out kind of notifications to the workforce asking them questions and then report back on that. But it also lets you, as they interact with experiences, whether it's learning content or courses or different parts of the application, when they come to do that, we know a lot about them. And this gets towards kind of Netflix level analytics of engagement. So when you view a movie on Netflix, they know who you are, they know where you are, they've got lots of information about you, and they're able to use all of that data to really decide what they invest in the future and to kind of shape their future investments in content. And our engagement insights allow our customers to do the same things for their people. So if you look at your kind of learning dashboard as an administrator, you can see kind of where people are in the world, which offices they're in, how that relates to engagement, and you can start to actually use that data to drive investments in your learning content to make sure that you're engaging all of your people. So if I see maybe that people in France aren't engaging with any learning content, and that's based on all of the demographic data that Workday has, that tells me a story. That tells me that I can go and speak to those employees and find out how we can make investments in content to help support them as well. So to finish up, I just wanted to really come back to where I started, which is we really believe in putting people at the center of enterprise software. And we believe that if we do this, we can build really engaging experiences and we can help our customers to grow and thrive in this changing world as well. Because people are really the center of the business. If you're in a changing landscape, it's your people that are going to help you to adapt and change the business and to react to any disruption and take advantage of any new market opportunities. And we believe that as we build our own software, by putting people at the center of everything we do, we can help our customers thrive in the future. So thank you very much. I'm going to be around for the rest of the day, and I'm very happy to talk to anybody on any of these specific points later on. Thank you.